Pete Saronis. I am one of the co-chairs on the Smart IoT Infrastructure Working Group. That's a mouthful. Today, we're going to talk with some colleagues from the National Energy Technology Lab, the Fossil Energy Carbon Management Program, DOE, National Lab, and Chad Rowan, who may show up on screen here in a minute with Maximus. They are a unified team, and we are more focused on content, or as my wife says, don't worry about perfection, connection. So let's have some fun with this, and it's going to be great. I have the joy of working with Sam Navarro, Mike Burkholz, our government chairs for this working group, which fall under the umbrella of the Emerging Technology Community of Interest, all under the veil of the largest nonprofit inside the Beltway, as far as I'm concerned, ACT-IAC, that has 4 decades of experience bringing this kind of content together. For the record, this is a virtual meeting. It's meant to be engaging, ask questions, chat, but our rock stars today, Drs. Darren Malat, Dr. Kelly Rose, and Chad Rowan, who may again show up. Don, it's looking fantastic. I'm feeling my mojo back, my friend. We're going to jump right into it. So let me brag a little bit about the program. We've titled this Bridging the Digital Divide with EDX Discover. And if you looked at the material, Discover has a little bit of a cool looking acronym. It's about carbon capture, carbon storage, carbon transport. And for years, this is something that we have probably heard about, read about, but as of late, it's probably one of the hottest topics in government from an R&D standpoint, from a federal standpoint. And if you're in industry, if you sell, if you do BD, if you're an academic in your own right, you're going to learn a ton today and hopefully learn more, because we only got an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, because we're going to get that time back. We encourage you to check out the websites where these individuals work. So with that, Kelly Rose, Dr. Rose, Technical Director, Science-Based, AIML Institute, the National Energy Technology Lab. And listen, if I say the wrong titles, it's because titles change here, there, and everywhere. But Kelly's got a PhD from Oregon State, an MS from Virginia Tech, and she's got a BS from Denison University, all in geology. And she digs rocks, yes, but man, is she one amazing technologist. Kelly, it is super awesome to see you. Darren, PhD himself, mechanical aerospace engineering, SUNY Buffalo. And I read somewhere you got a little Bachelor of Science in Cyber and Data Science from Mercyhurst. I hope that was the Darren Malat that, yes or no? Are you nodding? Is that you? Not you. Badass. That's why I needed to know. Was that you when I looked up? So there's another Darren Malat out there. Lastly.
My cousin, actually.
All right. We'll get to that. Chad, Maximus, West Virginia Mountaineer. You're going to hear from Chad. And Chad's going to bring a lot of the technical, but translate into layman's speak, because what you're about to hear from these folks, and I'll do my part to kind of get them riffing with one another, is how industry, government, and academia have come together, focusing on some of our nation's most critical sectors, how technology is underpinning those sectors, and how we're moving the needle toward innovation. This is a very mission-focused discussion. We will not deep dive into why cloud and FedRAMP and compliance. That's for a separate discussion. Today, you're going to walk out of here wanting to learn more about something that's relevant to our country, is highly funded, and you got some of the smartest people in the country talking about it. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Ms. Kelly Rose, tell a little bit about herself. Darren will do the same thing, knowing now that he didn't go to Mercyhurst, and Chad Rowan. And we're going to have them talk a little bit about why this topic's so important, and then we're going to jump right in. So Kelly, the floor is yours.
Pete and folks, thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to engage with everyone here virtually today. We've been working on the virtual connection and amplification of federally funded research products that align to our carbon storage and transport program for almost 13 years. But it kind of goes further back than that. Yes? Okay. As Pete indicated, I started off my career in the energy industry for a brief tenure before coming back into the research branch here at DOE NETL, and have had the honor to work with an amazing suite of people through the last 20 years of research and innovation at the lab, in the field, in the laboratory itself. And for the last about 15 years, really have been moving into that digital computational space, where we have the opportunity to take the lessons learned and the resources from the field and the lab, connect it with the ever evolving and emerging digital resources and science base to do more, to address societal problems, challenges, and opportunities for the public. So I've been on a path of evolution myself, but I think it's mirrored by the technology platforms that we are continuing to build out, like the Energy Data Exchange. And its next generation iteration, it's pretty much grown into this digital library, but it's so big, we need special collections now. And so EDX Discover, which is foreshadowed in the marketing information for this talk, is the next generation where we are helping our carbon storage and transport community connect to the digital resources that they're looking for. Data, tools, models, capabilities, but also the ability to connect, to compute, to do more with that data in a democratized, more accessible manner. And we couldn't do this without the partnerships with so many amazing people and our stakeholders up the chain that saw the vision of this and enabled it. So that's just a quick recap of a bit of how we got here, Pete, but I'm sure we'll unpack more as the conversation evolves.
We will indeed. And let me just, because it's my style, thank you for the back end people, by the way, pulling this together. It looks phenomenal now. And Chad, we hope to see your face at some point, but hey, he's a good looking guy and he was on the flyer. So y'all know what he looks like. Let me just emphasize, Kelly Rose is one of the most passionate thought leaders in this country. She first launched EDX with a team back in 2011. It's nothing new, but today you're going to learn a lot about data, cloud. You might even hear the AI term, but just understand that there's a lot of meat here and there's a lot on the bone for you all to digest. And what we want you to do is walk away and learn more. I will say before I kick it over to Darren, in March and April of this year, the administration pushed out by way of the Council on Environmental Quality and the White House incredibly wonderful information. I'll put the links into it for accelerating carbon capture and removal technologies, as well as information on the deployment of carbon capture utilization and sequestration. So get those terms in your head when you're selling into government or having a conversation, because that's what our working group is trying to convey. Technology ain't the problem, folks. It's making sure when you're talking to folks like Darren and Kelly and Chad that you understand their challenges and how your technology can enable it. Darren, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity, Pete and others, for doing this. I'm going to, well, okay, let me just dive into something else. So I got my undergraduate and worked in industry for a while, and then decided I need to go to do research and understand technology a whole lot better. So got my PhD and came to DOE back in 1992. And I came there at the Morgantown facility and in West Virginia, was working really in the same organization that Kelly Rose and Chad are now working in. Those are the good old days. But I do want to just mention one thing really quickly. If you've never been to West Virginia, it's a fantastic place to get a pilot's license. They have a great big airport there. It's a gorgeous area to fly over. And so that's what I did when I came and worked for DOE. Got a pilot's license, bought an airplane. And DOE is a wonderful organization that allows you to actually use your private plane to travel places. So it was a lot of fun. So sorry to digress, but it was a really, really good time there. Was there for several years. And then finally, I went to the dark side in late 1990s and went to headquarters. And the world was a very different place then. If you remember those days, 51% of our electricity was generated from coal in like 98 and 99. The focus of what we did in FECM was designing new fossil power plants that were a lot more efficient, a lot more flexible, because we knew that we're going to need to back up renewables one day. And they were looking at criteria pollutants and trying to clean those up. So fast forward today, vast majority of what FECM does is focus on CCS. 5 key programs in the area of CO2 relative to CCS. We also do some methane mitigation stuff. But the 5 areas relative to CO2 are point source capture, big program, CDR, which is carbon dioxide removal, carbon conversion, carbon storage and transport, and hydrogen with carbon management. Those are 5 huge programs. A bulk of our funding go to those and the mitigation programs. So my role, I recently moved to the operations office in Fossil Energy, and my title is Director of AI and Special Projects. And what we do there is we try to make sure that all the programs have the tools they need to get the job done that they're trying to get done. So I work as basically a headquarters champion for Kelly and Chad. We work very, very well together. We've moved the needle quite a bit on AI infrastructure in terms of getting funding earlier. I don't know if you'll agree with this, Kelly, but I think you will, that because of seed funding and extra funding we were able to get, we were able to accelerate the program by about a year or so, which is really important when every year and every day counts. And so we get that going. We work together on a lot of things relative to AI to try to make sure that the leadership and the staff all understand its importance, how it helps the program, what it's capable of. We're building interagency and intra-agency support, et cetera, and produce all kinds of documents. So that's what I kind of do.
Well, you do a lot more than that, Darren, and I appreciate it. And I love the fact that you mentioned some of the programs, those 5 folks. Again, and please use the chat function, Darren, if there's a Daryl out there, Kelly and Chad, push people to look at some of the material. I just pushed out 2 links, but Darren, thank you. Look, folks, when you say headquarters champion, that's needed. We have people in the national labs. There's a big R&D focus, but Kelly Rose spends a lot of time inside the Beltway, and she does what she does. And she's amazing at it. Chad Rowan, we do see you. We know you're a ventriloquist as well, so we don't expect your lips to move. Please feel free to give a little bit of background on you, your passion, why you love working on this project, and the great work that you and the Maximus team is doing to support the effort.
Yes, thanks, Pete. Apologize for the video. I've tried multiple browsers. I think it's something on my hardware. Something's going on here, but I was able to put a picture up there. So just know that when others are talking, I'm nodding my head. I'm agreeing with what they're saying. You can just visualize that on your end. So my name is Chad Rowan. I come from a background actually of geography and geospatial data management. I have a bachelor's and master's from West Virginia University. I've been at the National Energy Technology Laboratory since January 2012, when I came on as a data analyst with some things that Kelly wanted to put together a data library, data warehouse, fill in whatever type of term you want to throw there. And from that, we have built the Energy Data Exchange. It is what it is today. We have over 3,000 active users. A lot of folks are using it. It's a way to curate, publish, make data accessible for use, reuse, not just within the NETL umbrella, but also our external stakeholders and just the general public that may be interested in fossil energy and carbon management data. In the last couple years, we've been migrating, as Kelly and Darren have alluded to, we've been migrating to more of a hybrid data management approach, that those data management storage needs as well as compute needs being both in-house, on premises in our NETL facilities, as well as cloud resources, making our user base have access to those types of needs. So we're utilizing that compute and data source, at the data source, wherever that data source may reside. I skipped over a little bit of my bio, I guess. So just real quick, I'll throw it out there and I'll pass it back to you, Pete. So I have 4 wonderful children, married to my wife, Ashley. I'm actively involved in a lot of things, obviously, with 4 children, coach a lot of youth sports, specialize in baseball. And if I'm not working in the evenings, then I'm probably at the baseball diamond here in Morgantown or somewhere else in the area. I'll pass it to you, Pete.
Brother Chad, first of all, folks, he's got a cool little accent there too. So, I mean, that's what makes, you kind of connect and humanize individuals in this, right? Thank you, Chad. And listen, we're going to jump right back to this next segment. You get to know these people. You can Google the heck out of them. You can look them up on LinkedIn. Their pedigrees are beyond amazing. So please, guests, and we're sending some links out. Thank you, Kelly, just to get educated on this space, right? Again, we hope to educate, inform, and enlighten you here. We're going to shift into Kelly, and please, as we discussed, there's a people, a process, and a technology framework aligned with everything you do. Whether it's building the application, why you built it, and the impact it can have down the road, the transformation of just people learning how carbon capture in this case is important. So I'm going to ask you and our guests to kind of hit on some of that in terms of what is it like in a typical day or week as you're trying to not just talk about the technology and the work you're doing in the cloud and the shift to put more data to make more sense of it, but also the effort to engage your colleagues across other labs and headquarters to understand the power of what this data can do to move from an economical and societal level. So the people process technology framework is what I'd like each of you to kind of address for our audience. You're on mute, lady. Or we can't hear you. Okay. So Darren, could we pivot to you and then we'll come back to Kelly?
Sure. So I'm going to focus on the some of the people stuff. I assume that Kelly and Chad will focus on the other piece of it. So you're right in assuming that we really need to work with educating our management and staff, because a lot of people, I'm going to focus mostly on the AI part of it myself, because that's a big part of what we have to do in order to meet our very, very aggressive targets for our CCS program. And so I've been focusing part of my time on a lot of education types of things. There's a lot of fear among some people about AI. I mean, it's justifiable fear, right? People are worried. They're throwing a lot of data at a lot of these tools, and they're worried about getting a lot of their information stolen, and their and those kinds of things. So what I'm trying to do is do some education that actually help them understand the potential of AI, but also develop a comfort level of what you can and can't do. So just a couple of examples. So for some of the less technical staff, as well as others, we put on these AI forums, and we do this once a quarter, and it's for a general audience. We put this on, as I said, quarterly, and we try to get people in that are experts in their field that can really talk to various different parts of what's going on with AI. For example, just I think about 2 months ago, in our last one, we had someone come in, a world-renowned actually expert in deep fakes, and talk to us all. And what, by the way, I should mention this is open to all of DOE. Anyone from DOE can go to these forums. And so what he did a great job, obviously, and he showed us with using humor as well of some of the things that can happen with deepfakes, et cetera. But also it's a little bit scary for many of us. And so what he did, though, towards the end was tell people what they could look out for to avoid being scammed by these deepfakes. Very practical things. You don't need to be technical. Very practical things that you can do to help yourself not get snagged up in these things, as well as talking about that it's not doom and gloom in the future, and where the things were going to go, and it was not going to be that bad relative to deepfake. So it gave people a comfort level and something they could actually do and be motivated about to do that. 2 more things, if you don't mind my going into really quickly, that we're doing in terms of education.
Take your time, man. Look, please, this is to educate on what it's like. It's the point. People process technology.
Okay, so let me go and then give 2 more examples. One of them is for the more technical folks. We're putting together with another company outside, kind of a hackathon, a 1.5-day hackathon. But we're doing this not for people who know how to code very well, or don't even have to know how to code at all, which is why we're working with this company who does these things to do it. And what it's going to help them do is get a much deeper understanding of how the algorithms actually work. And so for technical people, that's especially programmatically technical people, that's enormously useful because then they can see where they could be applying it, and it becomes more real. And one last thing I want to talk about is we're working with our Chief Financial Officer's office to build a test bed. Now this is going to be a secure test bed, only publicly available information and completely safe. For people to be able to play in a graphical kind of a way. You don't have to go and know how to program. It's a graphical kind of interface where folks can play with, in this case, initially we're using large language models. And they can go and pick different models, see how it summarizes documents, see what happens. You can change what they call the color, the temperature. I don't know if for generative AI, there's something called temperature, whereas if you make it, the warmer you make it, the more freedom you give the code to deviate from the test data and what it knows. And so if you make it too hot, it becomes, they say it hallucinates. It just makes up all kinds of stuff. And if you lower it down again, then you get a much better summary or whatever it is you're looking for. So we're building this thing so that people can come in there and play with it. These are mostly for headquarters folks to just see and get do hands-on stuff. So it's those kinds of things we're working on to get people more familiar, understanding, and very motivated to work in this area.
Thank you, Darren and Kelly. Thanks for switching over. Let me just summarize a few things. You mentioned the AI forums, the hackathons, the secure test bed, like these forums. You know, if I'm an industry person, how does someone engage, or are these workshops open only to government?
The couple of a multiple answer there for this one. So in terms of the forums that we put on, if you're not in the DOE community, it's not open right now to anybody else. We may want to think about that though. There's some of these, there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't be. Some of them have reasons why you might not want to, but that's something we should think about. I'm interested in what other people think about it. This technical thing that we're putting together for folks, again, it's a small group. We're able to do about 20 people are going to be a part of that hackathon. Hackathons are a really good thing though, and if other people want to set these things up, I can certainly give them information on how to do that. And I'm using the word hackathon relatively loosely there, by the way. We're not going to be eating a lot of pizza and drinking a lot of beer while we're doing this.
Well, I thought that's what keeps it going, and a little bit of caffeine, man. So
yeah, well, for us it's coffee and donuts, I guess.
All right.
Anyway, in terms of the test bed, again, that's something that's very, very internal to do. But I think it's a good idea, and again, it's a model that other people can use. I'd be happy to help with that.
Awesome. Okay, Kelly, can you hear us?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome, good, and we can hear you loud and clear. So, Kel, do what you do best. We titled this, and again, I know you're going to hit on the PP&T, the Bridging the Digital Divide, though, the EDX Discover, DISCO2 VER, and I'm going to put some links in it. Can you talk about its evolution or how it has come to be and the criticality of it? Because again, EDX is a platform, Discover is one. What should people know about the power of these two amazing applications?
Well, building on, I mean, Darren set it up beautifully, because we're in this world that's rapidly evolving. The capabilities that are available to almost anyone that has internet access, digital access, smartphone, to do more with information themselves is significant. The challenge and the key is you have all these tools now that have been put into the hands of the many, and we need to make sure that they aren't using them in a way that gives bad information, false information. Darren mentioned hallucinations. I mean, these tools are not infallible. All models, when you think of a weather forecast, there's a reason that, the weather forecast comes with a % chance of sun or precipitation or wind or whatever. And that's because there are multiple models that are run to give you that forecast every single day. And they use the variance to give you confidence in how certain that forecast is going to be at any given place and time. So it's really important, as we've been democratizing the opportunities through the DOE programs that have been funded through all of our outside stakeholders to generate the next generation technologies and data and insights. EDX has been curating those data products for almost 10 years now for the carbon storage and transport program in particular. We want to be able to pair that with tools and models that help regulators, small businesses, and other public stakeholders interact with that data, but do so in a way that's responsible. And EDX Discover it's just been launched, and it's going to continue just like any other technology solution. We're building smarter, better capabilities into it. Right now it is very simple, but in the next 6 months it's going to continue to just evolve and rapidly change, in part because of some of the resources that Darren spoke to, the investments that he spoke to, that are so critical in offering our stakeholders, ranging from the public, regulatory, commercial, and even back into research, science and engineering domains, to have trust in the data products that we're hosting, that they're authoritative, they've been vetted, they were produced from experts and went through peer review, but also we're putting the power of compute into more people's hands and hopefully helping them understand how to responsibly use those products and those types of tools and capabilities. Some of that is AI driven, some of it's data science driven, some of it's just technology driven, but EDX Discover is this next phase of bridging that quote unquote digital divide, but also helping the community do so responsibly and learn with us. It's like any new tool. When you first get a car or you first get a new device in your home, a new appliance, you need to learn a little bit to use it responsibly, to use it safely and appropriately. And those are some of the things that we're also embedding into the EDX Discover system, are tips, tricks, tools, capabilities that will help our community be more effective, quicker. And also EDX offers a help contact us button, so that if people have questions or concerns or needs, they can click that button and it goes to a support team that's been around for over 13 years. And they can offer help and assistance to the user base so that they understand if they're trying to do something that may not be appropriate, or, oh, here's a trick that you might appreciate from EDX Discover that will help you do what you're trying to do better. So we're merging the technology to try to do that, but there's still people involved. There's still humans in the loop, to borrow from the AI parlance, because we're still important. We're the gatekeepers, like Darren was saying. Whether it's AI or just day-to-day activities, it still takes us thinking and asking, is this appropriate? What am I trying to do? Do I have the right data? Do I have the right tools? And am I putting them together in a way that makes sense? So
Kelly, I loved it. Yeah, well, listen, let me say, human in the loop, folks. That's where I always like to say, you can have all the AI in the world, but Kelly hit on authoritative words like vetting, data integrity, governance. This is not easy, but please, I'm seeing the links going up. Thank you, Chad and Darren. Go check out the Discover platform. Go watch it or read while we're talking. This is not stuff you learn overnight, but at the end of the day, and I'm pivoting to Chad now to talk and geek out a little bit on the power of the cloud, the power of AI, and just the collaboration needed to work with various platforms, because I know there's a lot going on. There's not one cloud vendor and there's not just one tool. But what Kelly is emphasizing and what Darren kicked it off with, I hope everybody on this call understands, being a former Fed, programs and headquarters and having champions like Darren, working with national laboratories, like in this case, NETL, Dr. Kelly Rose, who, by the way, works with tons of labs, and then having industry partners like Chad who know the space and know the mission. That's how we move the needle. And I hope today's meeting is going to be something that gets you super excited about people doing this. So Chad, let's kick it back to you, man. Geek out a little for those people who are wondering, man, how does cloud figure into this? What about data and all this kind of polysyllabic terminology? So geek out for us, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So first of all, I won't talk a whole lot about the history, but over the last 12 plus years of EDX, we've gone through multiple paradigm shifts. We've learned with our community, we've addressed needs as they come up, and we implement new features and functionalities to address those needs. Right now, one of the big paradigm shifts we've been working on is moving from an on-prem solution in our data center at NETL to a hybrid cloud approach. What that does is it helps us accelerate innovation. It provides access to multiple locations where we can utilize, for example, APIs to move data from on-prem to the cloud, do compute in the cloud, and then move those results back to on-prem, vice versa. So we utilize a lot of the different APIs. There's API documentation out there on the reference shelf. We can send that here in a little bit. But it's really this hybrid approach. We know that we have an amazing machine learning cluster called Watt at NETL. We also have our Joule supercomputer. We do not want to take those for granted. As we're moving EDX into a cloud service provider, we want to be able to utilize those APIs to take the data from EDX, possibly move it down to the Joule supercomputer, do a bunch of number crunching, provide results, and then export that back up through the API to EDX in the cloud. So it's we ultimately want to do compute at the source of the data, wherever that data is, whether it's on-prem or whether it's in the cloud. And then those results are not just valuable to our registered users and those that are utilizing EDX in a more day-to-day basis. We can publish those results and make them discoverable to maybe folks that do not have a registered account on EDX. They can take that data and then they can do new research with it. So it promotes that use, reuse. And talking a little bit, Pete brought up cloud. There's a lot of advantages of the cloud. It's obviously a buzzword thing now. Everybody's talking about cloud, migrating their on-prem solution to a cloud solution. But what are the benefits of cloud? There's multiple things. There's multiple cloud service providers. But utilizing the API documentation that we have on EDX, we can move that data wherever it resides to whatever location we need to move it to. And what that does is it improves our flexibility. It improves our performance. It does not limit us to just one solution, one on-prem solution, or one cloud solution. We can move the data around. We can utilize different tools from different service providers, and then ultimately make that data more discoverable to an end user. It also provides, resiliency. We have redundancy across multiple regions when you're working with cloud, as opposed to just possibly, one physical location as part of our lab with a redundancy backup to another lab location. So all these things are playing into, our future of where we're taking this thing. We're continuing to expand the realm of AI/ML. You have to have data in order to do AI/ML. We deal with a lot of large data sets. We've taken advantage of some things like an open data platform that is provided by some of the cloud service providers. So then when they have that data, even if it's a large data set, we're talking about terabytes of data, you can do the number crunching, you can pay for their credits, and then once again, you can move those results wherever you want them to move. So I'll pass it back to you now, Pete, and see if there's something else you want me to hit on.
No, Chad, you nailed it, buddy. And look, again, let me just summarize this segment. By the way, we're going to the top of the hour, whether you all want to stick around or not, but our guests are, because we're recording this and posting this. And if you missed it, you're going to get to watch it again. But let me just summarize. The EDX hosted Discover platform connects the carbon transport and storage community to publicly available data resources in support of the DOE, the Office of Fossil Energy and Carbon Management mission, and its goals. Darren highlighted some of those. I read it right from the website. But if you're somebody who's trying to connect technology capability to mission, you can't find a better situation here than here when we're talking EDX and what it's spawning in terms of additional applications. And it all starts with having that synergy among people, process, and technology. Kelly, Kelly, let me come back to you. And then Darren, I want you to riff off Kelly. And this is that visionary where we're going. But I'd like you to hit on that, Kelly, because what you're building is not specific to the lab known as NETL. You have secure collaboration sites. What's it been like deploying this from a national lab and sharing it with others, not to mention those, outside of the DOE community and stakeholders writ large?
So, we got started on this mission almost 15 years ago. There were lessons learned from various research programs that were struggling. They needed to be able to connect. They needed to be able to federate. And if you think back 15 years ago where technology was, the technology sector is just accelerating what it's enabling us as a society to do, whether it's highly technical research, business, public benefit. There's so many things that have changed. So 15 years ago, we didn't have a lot of these connection services and capabilities, technology solutions. And even now, we need to make sure that we're enabling them in a way that is secure, that, there's a lot of things that Darren touched on that concern people about how people use these technologies. Are they using them for public benefit? Are they trying to do things that are nefarious or just accidentally, inappropriate? And when we started building EDX, we were mindful of those concerns. We're also, NETL's different within the national lab system. We're actually federal, much like other parts of the federal government have federal research entities out in various parts of the country. We're akin to that, but it puts us in a very close relationship with headquarters, and also requires us to be in conformance with the federal and DOE requirements. And so from the get-go, EDX really focused the vision of EDX wasn't just on a specific project or program, but it was thinking about what type of infrastructure does the office and, as you foreshadowed, really the agency need that enables people to work securely, appropriately, but to connect to data that's authoritative and increasingly to data-related computational tools and resources. And we've been on a journey to build this. Is EDX perfect? No. It actually continues to evolve every single day with our user feedback, including stakeholders like Darren and colleagues at headquarters, other national labs, universities, private, non-for-profits in industry. So we're constantly listening to what do the community need to be more effective. But it's been a 13-year journey since it first deployed of trying to get those priority resources and capabilities out, helping enable our stakeholder base to work together, but in a way that is approved and meets requirements and cyber approvals and all these things that most people don't want to have to worry about, but enables the mission. And as you said, EDX, we do things for specific programs like Discover, which is very much calibrated to the carbon storage and transport capture program areas. But the underlying infrastructure and system was built to be more flexible and holistic of the office and the agency's mission space. And it's been really exciting in the last year or so, Darren, and I'll hand off to him to maybe comment a little bit further, but both at NETL and their headquarters, there's been a lot of orders and guidance that have been coming out, all the way up even to the White House, where data is really valued. Digital products are being more and more valued. People understand that we need to be able to preserve these things past when a project or a program comes to completion. You need a library, a digital system that's going to enable their long-term access. EDX has been doing that for 13 years, but we also need the right tools on the private side that allow teams from different parts of the, different areas to collaborate together. And so we've worked really hard with our colleagues at other national labs and other offices across DOE to understand their concerns, their requirements, and enable the system to be able to handle that, while we're also doing a lot of custom work and research project, digital, user facility type activities for specific programs like the carbon capture and storage domain. So Darren, I can, if you want to elaborate maybe on some of those crosscuts at the agency level. I don't.
Well, no, I'm absolutely happy to. The one thing that this all draws to mind a little bit is the Secretary's Energy Advisory Board back in 2020 had a statement in that report, and I'm going to try to paraphrase it here a little bit. But basically, what it was saying is that the department does not currently have an ability to capture all the data that's being generated throughout the department, all the tools, all the lessons learned, all that kind of stuff. We don't have the ability to do that right now, and that was a problem, obviously. And I remember the statement that they say at the end of that is that without this capability, every single new AI project you start up has to start fresh. And that's really kind of true, right? Because if you don't have the backup, all the data that other people have generated, all the tools, all the lessons learned, all those other things at your available to you, which we still don't, by the way, then it's just up to whatever the vendor is or the partner is, whatever data they just happen to have, or what they happen to know about tools and whatever those things are. In fact, one of the things we did in trying to convince our management that this infrastructure is not just important, but it's important to have right now, is I went and polled several researchers, PIs, and asked them how they did this project that they were actually doing, and if they would have had these things available that we're talking about for what EDX++ actually will do, how would that have changed things? And so one of them, I remember, they were working on something. I I think it was some kind of like 9% chrome steel or something, whatever they were working on to try to improve it or something. They told us they knew that they knew data was out there. They knew it was out there. They just couldn't get to it. So for them, what they did instead is they had to redo those experiments to get them. So they had a much smaller set of data. And it's going to take them a whole lot longer to get to where they need to get to because of that. So I wanted to heavily underscore the importance of what Kelly's doing and Chad and the whole team out there is doing to at least start pulling together the data we have within FECM. And also, Kelly, I know you and others, you're reaching out across the department to other labs to see what data we can federate. We're reaching out to other agencies, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully, my vision for the future, by the way, and hopefully it's not a distant future, is that all these different pieces that you're trying to put together in this web right now to pull together, whether it's federated or common database or whatever it is, will actually be happening in the nearer term. Because as you said, people know about it now. People know this is silly what we're doing. We've got to figure out a way to do it. And I know S4 is very interested in that, and others. So hopefully that's the way we're going to go.
Darren and Chad, I'm going to come to you because I just want to quickly jump in and say again, I know at like 5 minutes till we'll finish with some parting shots, but let me just say again to the audience, you're hearing about continuous improvement. You're hearing about platforms. There are tools other than Discover, folks. Go check it out. I love the links that I'm seeing here. Lots to learn. I just want to keep emphasizing the federal government funds a lot of our national labs, yes, but they work in partnership. And then we bring in folks from industry like Chad Roan, who just have that same passion. And I hope you're feeling it today because Kelly needs Darren, Darren needs Chad, Chad needs Kelly. So thank you for just reminding us and those listening that this is not over. EDX has been around, if I'm not mistaken, Kelly, it says first launched in 2011. Pretty damn cool journey with lots of more tools to be excited about. Chad, look, you're a partner to this three-legged stool here. If I will. You work for Maximus, great company, you know, but what's it been like? Like, how do you as a teammate embrace, and what do you love so much about the collaboration happening with you and the crew at NETL and DOE?
Yeah, I can talk to that a little bit. So first and foremost, we have an amazing DevOps team. We meet weekly, multiple times each week. We talk through needs of our users. We address those needs. We rank those tasks and features they want to implement into EDX. That DevOps team is a combination of, you know, contractors like myself, federal employees like Kelly. Darren also meets with us on a regular basis. And we're continuing to provide, you know, new things that really embraces our research challenges of the future, right? We've talked a lot about AI/ML today. It's not just throwing a buzzword out there, AI/ML. What is AI/ML? You know, in simplest forms, it could probably be broken down into it's a data set that was created by AI/ML, or it is a data set that is used to derive AI/ML, or it's some type of an AI/ML tool. Well, we address all those three things in EDX by making those things available, not just internally to our DevOps team, but also to other members of EDX and other users of EDX. So if I could just kind of paraphrase here before I send it back to you, Pete, for parting shots, you know, we're really trying to build EDX and Discover and all this into that multi-cloud hybrid solution. We're continuing to accelerate things like AI/ML, tools, data sets, whether that tool is something that needs to be a downloadable executable through EDX, or whether it's a tool that is a web-hosted application that we want to host on the EDX hardware that'll be in the cloud. We're continuing to improve these things so that not just to benefit fossil energy carbon management and DOE, but benefit, you know, scientific research across the entire umbrella. So I'll pass it back to you, Pete.
Thank you, Chad. And look, I'm seeing some questions coming in, please, from Sandy to Ruth. Those are loaded questions and great questions. We're using chat because we're going to capture this and share with everybody. Kelly, I'm gonna come back. Actually, let's go down to Darren. Let's shake this thing up. Darren, a parting shot, as we discussed in our prep calls, is, you know, what do we want to leave with this audience? We've talked about people, process, technology. You're talking about the collaboration in government. Obviously, you're not somebody that is not welcoming people to come have a conversation, but I always like to say to industry, if you're going to go talk to the feds, in this case, Kelly, yes, you are a Fed. You are a national lab that is the only government one, as you pointed out, or even Chad Rowan, who's a human being but happens to work at a great company. Talk to them about mission. How do you feel your technologies can map to the requirements? So, Darren, just what is it you want to leave with this audience after today about something which is either go read more about us and give me a call or get involved?
Good question. I wish we didn't only have 4 minutes left.
Yeah, just putting you on the spot, man, and just whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. I think really the major thing I hope to people think about and leave with is that there's two legs to it. Well, there are a lot of legs to a stool, I suppose, but there are two major things that I think are really, really important to us. The first is we've got to share lessons learned, our data, and all that kind of stuff, and figure out a way to link them all together in a way that's safe, secure, all that kind of stuff. Very much what you're doing with EVX there, Kelly, where you can make sure that people only can get to the data that's appropriate for them. You're not just in there and can get everything, because a lot of this stuff is secure. But be able to pull this data together, be able to reuse it, to be able to anonymize it, do all these kinds of things so that people, when they start and are trying to do some AI or anything else, they have the tools they need and don't just waste a whole lot of time digging for that stuff, because that'll move us all a whole lot farther along. And the other big thing is, obviously, I mean, to some people, AI is obvious what we have to do with it. So someone like a Kelly or a Chad or whatever. But to a lot of people, it's really not. And you've got to bring them along, because if people are not really understanding and feeling comfortable with it, they're not going to have active engagement. They're not going to let their creative juices flow. So I think the education of the staff, and so you bring them along with you on this journey and they become active participants, is enormously important as well, because right now the AI is only as good as the people who are developing it.
Well said, Darren. Kelly, parting shot.
Yeah, I think what's really important is you have to go on a journey like this, no matter where you're coming from, what background you have. As Pete said in the beginning, I mean, my educational background is geology, but I've had to learn and evolve and grow over the last few decades to embrace this transition and learn how to speak across communities. And it's a process, and that's true for anyone. And so there's a journey that needs to be undertaken, and I know a lot of folks get paralyzed by the fear of, oh my gosh, how do I get there? But it's step by step. It's also a community. Like Darren said, I have been so impressed and inspired by my peers and colleagues across this agency and in the the non-DOE space, the academic and the commercial space. Early on, when they were first told, you shall use EDX to store XYZ ABC by certain programs in the Office of Fossil Energy Carbon Management, we had folks that were super excited. They got it. They were already there. They could understand the need. They didn't want everyone knocking on their door saying, can you give me this data or this tool or this model? But at this point in time, many years into this process, I'll show up at meetings or be in a conversation and somebody will be like, hey, have you heard about the VDX place? You can go get this thing. And it's so cool to hear that because the community has embraced it. And again, it's not perfect, but they seem to also appreciate the candor and the openness that our team has tried to bring. Like Chad said, our DevOps team, our support team, we try to listen, we try to enable, and within the bounds of the funding and the mission that we've been authorized to execute, we're continuing to try to do what we can, but we really do it in collaboration with so many others out there. A colleague there in headquarters, OCIO, he was teasing me. He's like, you need to put in your tagline, high tide lifts all boats, because I say it all the time, but I mean it. We're on this together, whether it's in our day-to-day society, living, or in our work environment. So many things require a team. They require us to build on the knowledge and the capabilities and the resources others before us have developed. And EDX is part of that. That is the philosophy of EDX. It is that digital library and virtual laboratory that enables and aggregates and benefits from the many to catalyze the future. So I am grateful to everyone that's engaged with us, because we aren't here because of us, we're here because of them.
I love it. Kelly hit on community impact and true government principles. Thank you. Participation, collaboration, and transparency. It's the only way we move the needle. Hey, Chad, awesome job with the ventriloquism, if that's an actual noun version of what you've done. It's amazing. I haven't seen your lips move all day. What's your parting shot, brother?
I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity to talk today, to share our passions. We're going to continue to push this forward. We've done some amazing work. I'm excited about some new things we're going to do in the future. And just to kind of echo what everyone else has said, go out there, check it out. Check out EDX, check out Discover, check out some of the tools that we've published. You may find some things that will benefit your research. You may also get some ideas for new things that you can do on your end. So I just encourage you guys to go out and check it out and use it.
Okay, my parting shot. Big time thanks to Doctors Kelly Rose, Darren Malott, who did not go to Mercyhurst, Chad Rowan, amazing team. You did what I had hoped. We had a few hiccups. Again, this is recorded. We're gonna clean it up a little. We're gonna push this back out for those who didn't or couldn't attend. We had a great turnout. A lot of people stayed on for the hour. So thank you for those who did. Shout out to Don and ACT-IAC for this event, for giving us a chance. Rob Werman, Sam Navarro, Mike Burkholtz, Don Lovett, Nancy Delanoche. I'm Pete Saronis. Have a kick-ass rest of your day. Lots of love for everybody on this call. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.